Jamal Sylvester is the Director of Workforce Development at Marion University, St. Joseph's College, and a recent Executive MBA graduate at the University of Notre Dame. With over 20 years of experience in executive coaching, youth mentorship, program development, and workforce strategy, Jamal is a passionate advocate for educational equity and economic mobility. A former Division I athlete and Amazon best-selling author, he has dedicated his career to empowering underserved communities and creating pathways for success through education, employment, and leadership. And I happen to also know he is crazy about his grandparents. This is Jamal. I think we have more people here than we've been signing up. So I'm going to start passing out forms. If I run out, I will just have to figure it out. So.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I think that was a little better than the keynote. I think we all were scared. So I'm going to start with this opening quote. First off, let me say thank you for coming. I was quite honored and surprised when they told me that my session was sold out. I said somebody must have put some extra sauce on it. I don't know, but we're going to have some fun today, and we're going to learn about coaching and managing and leading. I'm going to start with this quote. People don't leave jobs. They leave environments where they don't feel seen, supported, and safe. As supervisors and leaders in child and family services, we create environments, or you create environments where professionals thrive by nurturing people, not just managing tasks. You unlock extraordinary team potential. Here's today's agenda. We got 90 minutes, so I got some activities. I'm gonna let y'all talk to each other, come up with some ideas, but we're gonna be interactive and we're gonna learn a few things about going from good to great. So I'll let the welcome story be my introduction and my bio. But then we're going to do why do you show up? Being in this work, and I've been in human services and social services for quite some time. And I know some days it's hard to get up in the morning. The covers get heavy, and it doesn't matter what it looks like outside. It doesn't matter what you got in your bank account if you're on vacation. It gets tough because when you deal with people in the way that you deal with people, it's hard to cut that thing off. You know, they tell you don't take it home or don't bring home to work. It's hard because oftentimes you spend more time with the clients that you serve than you do your own family members. And so when you're at home and you get those quiet moments or right before bed, you see one of your clients and you're always thinking about how can I help? How can I serve them? And so we're going to do an activity around why do you show up. Then I'm going to do a post check about where you are in your organization. I have a QR code. It'll show up where you guys can kind of vote and give me a number where you are. Then we're going to go into coaching versus managing versus mentoring. Then we're going to do some coaching sessions. So everybody will have a chance. You'll be a coach, you'll be a coachee, and you'll be an observer. As Janine stated, I made participant packets, so you'll be able to take notes when you're in each one of those roles. Actually, you'll be able to take notes for each one of the activities that we have. Then we'll go into coaching circles, which will be the opportunity where you do the coachee, coach, and observation. Then we're going to get into the retention equation, the 4 C's. Then we'll have a small breakout for that. Then we'll get into equity and belonging. And then I really love this last activity. It's called Letter to My Team, where you'll actually get to reflect and you'll get to kind of talk about and write a letter about how you feel about your team and how much you care about them, how much they support you, or vice versa. And then we'll have final reflections and then we'll call it a day. Sounds good? The leadership story. Before we jump into this, I want to be honest because I think it's important that we're honest and we're transparent and we're upfront. And so my leadership story, it wasn't too long ago. I literally almost walked away from an opportunity. And it had more to do with, I wasn't tired with the people that I was serving, but my soul was tired. How many of you have gotten to a place in this work where you just felt like let's be honest, where you felt like, man, this might be a bit much. And I was at that place, and so I almost walked away. But for me, I wasn't physically tired. I wasn't mentally tired. My soul was tired because you see all of the harm, you see all of the hurt, the pain that a lot of our clients are going through, or the young people that you deal with are going through. And so that stuff begins to attach to you, and it began to wear on me. But it all changed for me when I had somebody in leadership who had been watching me. Now, for some of us, God gave us a lot, and we can operate at a high level, but really, soul, as far as our soul and our energy, we might be operating here, but our soul and our energy is really here. And so this person saw that in me because he had been around me for 10 or 15 years. And he said, you don't have to have it all together, Jamal. I'm like, huh? You know, as leaders, we feel like we have to have it all together. We should have all of the answers. We should be able to solve every problem. And it hurts when we can't. And after he said that, he said, you have to be willing to grow and let others grow with you. And it was in that moment that it unlocked something. I'm like, wait a minute. So I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to have all of the answers. It's okay. And in that, I started leading from a place of purpose, not pressure. And I started showing up for myself in the way that I showed up for the people that I work for. How many of you have showed up more for the clients that you serve than you have for your own self? Raise your hand. And I just said early on that this is a heavy lift. And so I began to show up for myself in the way that I showed up for my clients. That's what today is all about. It's not about being a perfect leader, but being a present. Leaders who create space for honesty, growth, and healing, not just for our teams, but for ourselves. So as we move through this session, I want you to bring your full self, not your polished self, not your checklist self, not your resume, but your honest, human, work in progress self. That's where real leadership happens. So the activity, I think you all should have your sheet. The activity is, why do you still show up? So why do you guys still show up? Why do you get up every day and show up and bring what you bring to your clients? Some of the questions prompt to kind of help you think. How do you cultivate team belonging? What connects your purpose to team engagement? And how does team awareness of your why change the dynamics? Why do you show up? How are we looking? Everybody good? Got any volunteers willing to share?
I wrote because I love the organization that I work for, the people that I work with, and the families I serve.
Somebody else?
I think about the quote that says, be the person you needed when you were younger. And sometimes I think, what if that person I needed had decided they were retired?
That's good. Thank you. Somebody else? Can I hear from somebody on this side of the room? Thank you.
So I wrote, I'm good at what I do, it pays bills, and every day is different with a new set of challenges.
That's true. One more.
We learned that there's strength in struggling together. I jokingly say we trauma bonded, didn't we?
Oh, wow.
we grew together. We learned that neither one of us had it all together, but together we figured it out.
Yeah, that's good, and that's important. I found, and I wish I would have found this out earlier in life. I found it out like late 30s. But you always hear people talking about finding your why, and why is important. It wasn't until I think I was maybe 36, 37, life was lifing, and it clicked. I figured out that the reason why the why is so important. When you truly identify what your why is, who, what, when, where, none of them matter because you always know why. It doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter when. Some of us get those late night calls, like, you're like, man, I should have gave out my personal cell number. Because they use it, right? Especially when they know that you're a person that shows up. And so once you realize what that why is, it'll also help fuel you in your day-to-day. We're going to do a pulse check. If you could scan that, it'll take you to a manometer. And it's just merely asking you, where are you at on a 1 to 5? Where are you at? Where do you feel like you at in your company, with your team? I'm looking. Y'all can't see it. He wasn't able to mirror it so you could see it, but I'm looking at these numbers, and it's like a lot of people picking number 1 and 2.
We can have view results and then we can see.
Oh, you can see it too? Okay, well, that's even better. Be honest. This is important because once again, this is a heavy lift. This is important work, and team morale is important. And this is anonymous, so I won't be sending this back to you. Just wanted to kind of see where everybody was. All right. Now I need you to write down 2 challenges that your team are facing. So for those of you who have those low numbers, you probably got 5 or 6. But just write down 2 challenges that you're facing with your team that impacts your post check. Because we know in order for us to build solutions, we must first honestly assess our current state. A lot of times we don't always want to be honest about where we're at, not only as individuals, but as teams and even organizations. And so today, this is an opportunity to be honest about what's holding you back, what's keeping the team morale from being as high as it should be, what's keeping us from being as successful as we want to be. And so that's why these questions are posed. And then this establishes a baseline for growth. It's identifying where the energy is or isn't. How can we flip it? Burnout. Burnout, you can see one of the critical definitions up there is burnout. Is this the type of work where burnout is possible? Yeah, absolutely. Because once again, you get the early morning calls, you get the late night calls. Sometimes we're working on Saturday and Sunday when it's our off day, especially for those of us who understand what the why is and who accept the call. It gets rough. But what comes with that is the disconnect. Can teams function when there's disconnect? Does disconnection do they play a part in the team morale? If you and I are on a team together and we're supposed to be working and we're supposed to be with this song, but you turn your head every time it's your turn for you to do your part, is that going to help us out? We disconnected. We got to have a conversation. We need to talk about like, hey, we both got outcomes. All of us got outcomes. Data is king in this work. And so we all got outcomes. It's data driven. And so we can't have disconnection. We have to stay connected. How do you recognize burnout signs in yourself or your team? How do you recognize them?
Me?
Yeah.
I think it's easier to see sometimes in others than yourself, but they don't have the same enthusiasm. Little things, maybe not on time to work, or just don't seem enthused, you know?
Apathy.
Apathy. Yeah, it's a real word.
I lose my joy.
Oh boy, say that again.
Yes, I lose my joy very quickly when I get burned out. I get really, I wouldn't say I have a temper, I'm pretty, but I usually have some joy, and it's hard to find some days when I'm getting burned out.
Wow. So who, do you have people at the job that recognizes when you're not? Because see, that's a part of why the morale is down. We're not paying attention not only to ourselves, but even the people that we work with. And some of you guys work side by side. And you're talking and you're working and you're doing the work. And you're not recognizing, one, the burnout in yourself, but not even in the people who are working next to you. So we have to be mindful of that. In order for us to have a high morale and in order for things to work in the way that we need it to work, we have to be intentional about that. And what we talked about in the last slide about oftentimes we show up better for others than we do for ourselves. And that's a problem. We think we're giving them our best, and really we're giving them fumes. Because we haven't done what we needed to do to regenerate, to energize ourselves, to have that joy that she was just talking about. In order to do this work, not saying that everything is going to go good or it's going to be a sunny day every day, but you have to go into work with a sense of joy and happiness about what you're doing. Because ultimately, it's based on what you do that determines the success of the people that you're serving. And so if you come in with a low battery, they come in, they don't have a battery, what's going to be the result? Not a whole lot. And typically that's what happens, which adds to the burnout. Because how many of y'all got in this just because you just wanted to be in it? Raise your hands. Right. You got in this because you felt something. It's a conviction, it's a passion, it's a mission for a lot of you. That I want to help people move from where they are to where we know they can be. It's not going to be easy, but it's doable. And so we got to ensure that our batteries are charged and that we're ready and we're prepared to take it on, because some of the things that transpire in our interactions with them, it can drain your battery. It can train your battery. And so you have to, once again, so when your phone is getting dead and you plug it in, you know, they got those chargers that some of them, they take a little while. And then they got them chargers that was like, man, that mother, you got to find your fast charging people that's at your job so that they can get you back where you need to be. It's important. I didn't used to do that, and I really didn't used to care about that because I was on this island by myself. Like, this is my caseload. These are my clients. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is getting too much. I found myself sitting in my office for an hour when I would get off. Then I would get in my car and drive, and then I would sit in my car another hour just to try to decompress. 2 hours. Because it was so much. And some of the clients and some of the issues that they're facing, those things, especially for those of us who've had to overcome some of those things ourselves. So for some of us, we got into this work because we used to be the people that we're serving. We used to be them. And we know how hard it is. But we also know that with the right resources and the right network, it's possible. So manager, who can give me the definition of, it don't have to be Wesley's definition, it can be yours. What's a manager?
Someone who oversees the day-to-day operations of the people.
Okay. Everybody agree with that? Is that
Would you say
definition?
that? We couldn't hear it.
My voice doesn't carry. Someone who oversees the day-to-day operations of other people.
What's the manager's focus?
Outcomes?
The things that you get done.
Things that need to get done.
Guiding
Guiding.
others.
Somebody said something back there. No? I think you should have. Look. You know what's funny when you look at people and then they look behind them and they know, like, you know I'm looking at you. They act like they're invisible. It's like, well, I'm gonna put on my cloak and I'm out of here. That is too funny. But their major focus is structure and productivity. Behaviors, what are the typical behaviors of a manager? Calm. Sometimes. Who said that?
Analytical.
Analytical.
Confident.
Confident, yes.
Stern.
Who said that? Stern.
Driven.
Driven, yes, yes.
Compassionate.
Whoa, see now you're trying to pull on my heartstrings. Who said that? Say it again.
Compassionate.
Compassionate. That's important. Compassion is so important in this work because we know as life is life for our clients, even though they may not think it's life for us, life be life for us too at the same time. And to have a manager who is not compassionate, that can understand while I've bent over backwards to help this client, I've done everything in my power to ensure they have all that they need. I'm lacking. I need some help. I need you to be compassionate about maybe I had to leave early because I had to go get my sick daughter or son from school. I need you to be compassionate. Maybe I had something going on and I might have had a mini meltdown or breakdown. I need you to be compassionate because this work is a heavy lift. Mentors. Somebody define mentor for me.
Support.
Support, relatable,
Teaching.
teaching,
Role model.
role model,
Guiding.
guiding. Are managers and mentors the same?
Should be.
They can be.
Why not? They can be?
Yeah.
Talk about it. Why?
You just want me to talk.
I do.
Well, I mean, like, a manager is gonna know the day-to-day operations, so
Mhm.
mentoring, a worker through that and the different obstacles, and just kind of helping them with that process, that's mentoring.
That's good. Real good.
If I'm expecting my team to do stuff, hopefully, I've been there, done that, and have learned how to muddle through it and do fairly well with it. And I'm gonna say, I'm gonna expect you to do some of the same stuff I would do. And together, we'll figure it out.
My mentor told me, he called it an over-under sandwich.
Mm.
I was like, what is that? That don't sound good. It don't sound like a smash burger from like over-under sandwich. I'm like, what is that? He said, Jamal, before you can ever be over something, you got to learn how to be under something.
That's good.
I was like, wow. Sometimes we want to self-promote or we get promoted in positions that we're not quite ready for because we haven't truly learned how to be under.
That's right.
And so the over-under sandwich. Be under so that you can learn how to be over. Now, can you be under a bad manager? Can you still learn from that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not all for bad. Even though the experience might have been bad, it could be a great experience. I think I became the greatest version of myself by having two bad supervisors, and I had them back to back. I left one and I went to another. I thought I was getting a break, and I was like, Lord have mercy, I should have just stayed. It's the same thing. And both of those managers weren't compassionate. They were rigid, they were tough. And don't get me wrong, I get it. You know, when we're doing this type of work, there's things you have to follow them to the T. But come on, man, there's sometimes like you didn't have to be that strict. You didn't have to be that rigid. Because ultimately, because we are human, right? Everybody, we're human. You give that to me, sometimes I would take that and I would give it to my participant or my client. They was trying to figure out, where is this coming from? I mean, we had a great session last week. What is this? Well, having a non-compassionate manager, it messed me up. Coaching. Define what a coach is.
Cheerleader.
True leader?
Cheerleader.
Cheerleader, okay. Coach, talk to me. Teacher.
Inspiration.
Inspiration. Yes.
I also think accountable, like a coach is gonna tell you what you didn't do well too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But they're going to be constructive with that criticism.
Good point.
The coach always wants you to do better rather than just pointing out what's wrong.
I think when I learned, I had somebody tell me, so you hear constructive criticism. I just think that word criticism, it makes everybody cringe. When somebody says they want to give you credit, we automatically go into defense. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say, because that term in itself sounds so negative. Like you're about to try to tear me down. And you know how hard I work, and you know how much, like, I don't want to hear this. You keep your criticism to yourself. But what helped me was when they start using the word feedback. Feedback sounds, even when you're dealing with your participants and your clients, feedback. I don't want to give you any constructive criticism. I want to give you some feedback. Feedback sounds like, okay, I may have gotten it wrong, but you want to help me. You want to help me. And so now I'm going to receive that. We talked about coaching. What's the focus of a coach? You can see it.
Make you great.
Make you great. Especially when we think about teams. Some of the greatest teams, the winningest teams, they had some phenomenal players, but it was that coach. It was that coach. How do you take all of this talent? How do you take Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, Steve Kerr, Bill Wynn? How do you mix all of that up? Because each one of them, it was only one of them by himself that was like the true GOAT. But everybody else played a part. He couldn't win without those other pieces. And so coaching is very, very, very important. How many of you feel like in what you do, you coach? Raise your hands. Yeah. How many of you feel like in what you do, you mentor? Raise your hands. How many of you feel like in the work that you do, you're a manager? Okay. Whether that's of people, whether that, depending on what your title is at the job. So when do you manage? Crisis, new hires, accountability. Somebody just talked about that word. For some people, that's a cuss word. Accountability. Like, I want the title, I want the money, I don't want to be accountable. And so it's those leaders who, when it's going good, they in the spotlight, and when it go bad, the team did that. I was over here. But who was leading the team? As much as they think they escape accountability, at the end of the day, you were leading that team. And if they failed, it's because you failed them. When the mentor, career development, knowledge sharing, culture navigation, some of our clients are trying to go in and out of these different, okay, I used to be this, and now I'm making a shift because of your coaching and your mentoring. I want to do something different with my life. And so now I leave something that I've been used to, and now I'm going somewhere else. Is that comfortable? How do you help them through that? That uncomfortability of leaving something that we all know is not good for them and trying to get them to go to something that's different, something that's better. How do you help them do that?
Remind them of why they're taking the steps to go towards making better decisions for themselves.
Okay.
Reflect back on their growth up until this point. Encourage them to see the vision in the future, focus on the vision instead of the struggle.
That's good. Somebody else.
You acknowledge that it's hard, but just because it's hard doesn't mean it's bad.
It's good.
Man, say that again.
You acknowledge that it's hard, but just because it's hard, it doesn't mean that it's bad.
Man, it does get hard. It get hard for us sometimes, being on the other side of the table. But I think for me, I always revert back to, man, I remember when you didn't have it all together. And I still don't have it all together now. I got it together a little bit better than I used to. But I always revert back to that. And I never try to put myself up too high because I know that it's one situation, I'm one situation, one bad decision away from possibly being on the other side of that table. And it happens all the time. When the coach, it's time to problem solve. Building, engagement, confidence. Talked about, man, some of the greatest teams, whether it's football, even music. You think, man, I spoke to a group of kids for Youth Build. I was their keynote, and it was a room full of people like this. It's packed, but the kids were behind me. And so I said my thank yous to the people in the crowd, And then I said, I have to do something that conductors do, and they have to do one of the hardest things. In order for them to make the music do what it do, they have to turn their back on the crowd. I didn't come for y'all, I came for these babies. And so I turned my back and I spoke to them. You're the conductor. You have to walk in that space. You have to be willing to turn your, look, we got to get this done. Me and you, we're going to work this out. We're going to utilize these resources. We're going to utilize the people that we have around us. We got a lot of help. There's a lot of services. And we have to stop. All of you guys are in this room. You're here at this conference because you're all doing the same work. But I feel like oftentimes we become siloed. We can get siloed and, well, that's them over there, and we over here, and we got this grant, and they didn't, and it keeps us from working together. And it ain't nothing like when you can be in a room full of people, and then you're asked a question about your journey, about the work that you do, and you're being honest and transparent about, man, sometimes this sucks. Sometimes I be dog tired. Sometimes I don't want to go in. Sometimes I want to quit. And then 25 other hands raise up and they say, man, I be feeling like that too. Y'all are not in this alone. And the more that we work together and utilize each other, the easier it is. A lot of times the reason why people fall through the cracks, they fall through the cracks because we're not connected. They fall through the cracks because we're not connected. If we're like this, there's a gap. But if we lock, you can't get through that. We have to work with one another. Share resources, share ideas, share knowledge. That's how we're going to get them to the next phase. A couple of people to share out. I'm going to ask somebody to share out about what it felt like being a coach. I'm going to ask somebody to share out about what it felt like as you were coached. And then I'm going to have somebody report out what it felt like being the observer. Who would like to go first on coaching, being the coach? What did that feel like? How did it go? How did your session go? I heard a lot of laughing and I seen a bunch of smiles. And so everybody has coached everybody to their best selves. And so you guys did an amazing job. I didn't see anybody crying. I didn't see anybody laughing. Nobody walked out. So we all are great coaches now. Who wants to share?
Nobody didn't do it right. Nobody cried.
Nobody? Okay.
I thought it was really good. I felt like I probably got some insight that I wouldn't have got otherwise without that technique.
A coachee. Who was a coachee and was like, man, my coach, they did it.
I really appreciated the if you trusted yourself fully question. And then we kind of had our little debrief after our first role play about like, sometimes it's really hard as, the supervisor to not just give the answer. And we really liked that question kind of helps you take a step back and, build confidence in your employee or in your, supervisee as well.
Well, that's a good call, and I think that's probably the most important thing when coaching. It's not your job to come up with the answer, and I think sometimes when we become managers and people of position, we always want to give the answer, and if you're somebody who's trying to grow and evolve, me giving you the answer is not going to help that evolution. It's not beneficial to you. Those open-ended questions, it allows for them to come up with their answer. And then when you get done with that session, they have a sense of empowerment and that feeling like, man, and then you can reinforce like, I didn't do anything. I just gave you a prompt. You answered the question. You came up with the information. And I think that when, in me and my group, we talked about intentionality is everything in coaching. When they feel true intentionality and they feel like you're really trying to help me, you're really trying to give me this information, or you're trying to give me this knowledge that will help me be better at what I'm doing, because ultimately nobody gets in or comes in entry level and wants to stay there. All of us get into a place, we learn our jobs, and then we have those dreams and aspirations of being the program director, being the manager. And so for some of us, we want to be a CEO and run our own thing. but it's the over-under sandwich. You gotta learn how to be somewhere. And so coaching is so important. And that intentionality of not providing the answer. Allow them, walk them through that process and give them some time. On here it talks about the magic of coaching. It's in the pause, not the push. Sometimes silence is okay in coaching. It's not a bad thing. Let them pause. Let them think about it. Don't let them off the hook. Don't let them off the hook. Sometimes as a manager, we try to push. And sometimes people don't want to be pushed, or they don't want to be pushed in the way that you're pushing. You have to know how your people, your staff, the people that you're serving, you have to know what works best for them. I was sharing with them when I was in college, I was one of those players when my coach would talk crazy to me, whoever was guarding me was in trouble. I'm going to take it out on you because he said something crazy to me, but I had a teammate just as gifted. When the coach got on him, he would shrink back and disappear. Our coach never identified how to communicate with him to get the most out of him. That kid ended up transferring and leaving after his freshman year. You could lose people. You could lose your staff. Find out their means of communication. Find out what works best for them. All right, you got the coachee. Now, who was an observer and what did you see?
As the observer, it was hard for me not to jump in. So I was trying really hard to listen with my ears and not my mouth.
That's good. That's real hard. Because as an observer, especially for those of us who want to save and help everybody, it's like, no, I'm just observing. So when you were observing, what things did you write down that, like, did you write down anything in particular that when they were being coached and coaching, did you see anything or did you hear something that, like, that I wanted to chime in, like?
Yeah, but you know, it was interesting. We had pretty good coaches, I would say, in our little group.
Okay.
What was interesting, the things that I wanted to jump in and say, they also said those things. So I was like, oh, okay, we're equally yoked in our little trifecta here.
That's good. That's real good. All right. So I got this retention equation. Clarity plus connection plus culture times consistency equals retention and growth. If you know, you know. If you've been in this work, you know that equation is not a lie. Clarity, so being clear about what we're doing, what the expectations are. Connection, connecting with your people. We were just talking, I used to joke during the pandemic. So I used to say the only connection you get when you're doing virtual meetings is Wi-Fi. It's the only connection. That's the only connection. If you're not intentional and you don't have some engaging stuff, you could lose. And how many of y'all were, I'm going to raise my hand because I kept my camera off. How many of y'all kept y'all camera off in those meetings because you really didn't want to, you were not connected. Yeah. Like, man, why am I here? What are we doing? Like, I got a lot of work I got to do. Why are we here? And so you want to make sure that you're making connection with your people. What's your name? Brent was saying that, like, he has, like, all of this stuff that he has to do, like so many of you, and it's hard for him to kind of make the time to work and coach and be with his people, but you have to make that connection. So I suggested, well, in all of that, in a month's time, how about you pull up on them at least one time a month? You could do all of your stuff, or maybe it's that day that you got all virtual meetings. I'm gonna go into the office, and I want to see. I know what I see from where I sit, but I want to see it for myself, because sometimes as we share, what's not a barrier in one county can be a barrier in another. And sometimes you can be where you're at and you don't know that they're struggling, not because they can't do the work, not because they don't have the skill set to do the work. It's because there's barriers that are happening that are out of their control or things that they don't have the power to change. And you won't know if you never go see it for yourself. Then you do a couple of virtual meetings. Make the virtual meetings light. Don't make them long. 15 to 30 minutes. Have some type of fun activity, but allow that activity to get you to the point that you're trying to get them to. And then a phone call. Phone call is the check-in. I'm just checking in. See how you're doing. I know we met last week. This is what we talked about. How you looking? So that next time when you go do that in-person meeting, they're going to have something to talk about. Because you've helped them establish some checkpoints and some milestones in those meetings. Now that's connection. Now when they come, and they can't wait to see you come through the door. Coaching. You know how important coaching is. We heard, I think everybody in here, if you don't feel like you were a great coach, raise your hand. I didn't think so. What? Oh, we being honest. I did ask for honesty, and then I got a hand raised. You don't think you were a good coach? Sometimes you can be. Why only sometimes? Sometimes we be too hard on ourselves.
Yeah. But she's also in a relatively new role, so we're still gaining confidence.
Okay, and that's okay. That's okay. But just know that you wouldn't have gotten a role if you weren't qualified, if you couldn't do the job, and everything that you need is on the inside of you. It's just waiting to come out, and you got to put yourself in a position for it to come out. And so the fear is cool, the dissatisfaction with self is okay, but no, they wouldn't have put you in that role if you couldn't do the job. And so don't be so hard on yourself that you can't see the sunlight, because it's a heavy lift, and you all are doing some great work, and so don't beat yourself up. Then consistency. Consistency is so important. How you show up for your staff, how you show up for your clients, it's so important. You could lose them. For a lot of them, they've been disappointed and let down so much that they expected. I'm going to say that again. They've been disappointed and let down so much that they expected. And so when they come and they see something that's not consistent, you give them a reason to go back to doing what they. That's why they stay stuck. That's why they stay doing the stuff that they're doing, because nobody has had a level of consistency in their life that they could be like, man, you still showed up. I didn't do the best work yesterday. You still came in. You still greeted me in the way that you greet me every other day. You don't make it personal. What happened on Tuesday, I'm not going to take it into Wednesday. Now, we may still have work that we need to do, but how I felt on Tuesday because of I'm not going to allow that to affect our Wednesday. Be consistent in how you show up, because that's where you're going to get your retention and your growth. It's so important. Which C, for you, I'm going to ask a few people to share, which C is the strongest in your leadership? Which C? Which one of them C's is the strongest in your leadership?
I actually try to stay balanced amongst them all, actually. I think that is a thread for me to reach those levels when I need to reach them.
Okay.
I think to be overly one of them can cause me to miss the rest of them. So I just try to be balanced.
Okay, that's good. Somebody else. What's your strongest C?
I would say connection.
Connection.
Yeah.
Somebody else. Give me one more.
Coaching,
Coaching.
empowering others.
Okay.
That's what I'm.
To this letter to my team. I want you to write a brief letter to your team expressing your leadership intentions, how you want them to feel, and how you will show up as their leader. Some prompting questions. What values do you want to model consistently? How do you want team members to feel when they lead conversations with you? What does support look like from you? How will you balance care with accountability? And what do you commit to working on in yourself? Some prompted questions, but write a letter to your team. Tell them how you really feel. Might be nervous though, because some of y'all had some low scores. Pulse check with your people. See where they're at. And then share your intention. When you share your intentionality about what you're trying to get from them and what you want for them, change. This anonymous quote said, "To lead is to love, and to love well, you must learn to listen deep." Thank you. Thank you for having me. I do have a takeaway sheet. If you scan that QR code, you can save it. So it has the 4 C's, coaching questions. So you scan that. This one is to get in contact with me. If you have an organization that may need a training or may need some coaching or some consulting, please feel free to reach out.